What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is Dr. Hamas Tech, and today we are going to talk about this phone over here, the Poco F5. And in today's review video, we're going to go through all the key specs and features, and of course I'll share with you my experience of using this phone for the past 2 weeks. So yes, without further ado, let's just get right into it. Alright, so we're going to start off here with the holding experience over here, which does cover the build material, the design, and all that goodness in your hands. And what I can say is that first of all, you will notice the so-called cheapness that comes with this phone. And what I mean by that, because I had to give you some background over here. I love the Poco F3, which I've used extensively in my videos for the past, I think 2022 or 2021 or something like that. I really like that phone a lot, and it was using a Corning Gorilla Glass 5 on the back and the front. Here, for some reason, it only uses on the front, but on the back and on the sides, it does use a plastic, which you can kind of feel and hear because it does feel pretty cheap, I would say. It does give you a lightweightiness to it, I would say. Not too lightweight, you know, it still gives you a good weight to it, but it definitely feels lighter compared to many other phones. So it does kind of minus in terms of that premium feel, I would say. And as we can see here, the reason why I didn't wipe this off is because I'll show you that this bag over here does attract a lot of fingerprints on this phone. So definitely, if you're not going to buy a phone case on this, which is pretty hard to get, but they do give you a clear phone case right out of the box, which really doesn't really help because you're still going to get a lot of fingerprints on this. So that's one thing to consider, because it is plastic. It's quite hard to wipe it off. You gotta have a microfiber cloth to kind of wipe it away to get the job done, and that's one thing to consider. In terms of the design, the camera layout here is very generic, very simple, I would say. Some people may like it, some people may not like it. For me, it's a bit too boring, but it still gets the job done. Not too ugly, I would say, which is of course the bad part of it. And in terms of how it feels in hand, you know, it feels really nice. It does have your squared edges on the sides here, which I really do like, to be honest. And I do like the fact that the buttons are placed very convenient, very easy to reach, especially for the side fingerprint scanner here. As we can see, it's very easy to reach and very nice to touch as well, with the volume rockers on the sides. And I do like that they minus off on the left side here, so you're not going to get any accidental touches in case if you kind of use your phone like this. You know, sometimes you might press on some buttons on the other end. And of course, we do have the stereo speaker setup, which of course is pretty standard, but we do have a headphone jack, so it still gives you, you know, a lot of things and a lot of features with this phone in terms of the build material. But again, I want to go back to how it feels in hand. You know, it feels pretty cheap, which is very disappointing, especially if you're coming from the Poco F3. Next thing I want to talk about here is the viewing experience, and this covers the displays, the speakers, and also the haptics on this phone. In terms of the display, yes, we do have your nice 120Hz AMOLED display, 1 billion colors, Dolby Vision, and all that goodness. We also have the stereo speaker setup, and we do have nice haptics as well. But again, if you're coming from the Poco F3, and don't even talk about the F4 GT, if you're even coming from the F3, the display, it doesn't feel like an upgrade. To be honest, it doesn't feel that very nice. In terms of the brightness here, 1000 nits. If you compare that to the F3, we just go up to, I think, 1200 nits or 1300 nits. And it's a pretty surprising that they have downgraded the brightness on this. And you can tell, like from this video, you can see that it's not very bright when it comes to display, which is very disappointing. And if you talk about the speakers as well, yes, they do give you nice top and down firing speakers, but it isn't the loudest. Like, the maximum volume isn't enough for me. And in terms of the clarity, in terms of all the pickups and all that, in terms of if you are listening to music or listening to your movies, you don't really feel that fullness that comes with good speakers, I would say. It still gets the job done, like I mentioned before, and I think this is where this phone kind of falls into. It does get the job done, but it's not the best, especially if you guys again have been using the F3 as much as I did, and you can feel it here with the Poco F5. In terms of the haptics, it isn't too much, I would say. It does give you good haptics as well. Gaming on this is really nice, and if you're going to go through to, like, you know, your button pressing and all that, it does give you nice haptic feedbacks. But when it comes to displays and speakers, that is of course a little bit of a disappointment that comes with this Poco F5. Of course, next thing I'll talk about here is the user experience, and this covers the internal specs, the software experience, and also the battery experience as well. So in terms of just the smoothness and how it reacts, you know, how responsive it is, how fast it moves, really awesome over this phone. I do have the 12 gigs RAM variant over here, so switching in between multiple apps and just, you know, opening up multiple apps and doing your stuff, to be honest, you're not going to notice a lot of stutters, a lot of lags, which is absolutely lovely over here. Very fast and very snappy. Of course, you're going to expect that here with a flagship processor here. The 7 Plus Gen 2 processor, 12 gigs of RAM, UFS 3.1 storage. So yes, definitely expect very good performance when it comes to this phone. One thing I want to highlight over here is the software experience, and the Android 13 experience on this isn't the best, to be honest. I did prefer the 12 and 13 Xiaomi UI experience, the MIUI, so that would go equivalent to the Android 12 version. I think that was much better compared to the Android 13. Android 13 over here feels very clunky. I don't like this drop down feature, and in terms of just the whole software, it does feel more clunky and more chunky. Yes, it does give you a lot of customizations which you can do with the always on display, the side panel, the floating windows, and all this good stuff, which is still really good, but you can definitely feel that it's a little bit giving you a bit too much in terms of the software experience, which you can of course cut it down, or you can actually enjoy it if you are not like me. One thing I want to talk about here again is the battery when it comes to this phone. So here, 5000 milliamps of battery, really very good. It does give you a full day of usage, very nice 7 hours of screen on time, which is amazing. And of course, you can use the 67 watts brick charger with this, and you can pump this up from 0 all the way to 100%, which is really fast in just about 30 minutes. So definitely very convenient, but of course, you have to bring the charger around with you. But what I like about this phone is that it does give you your Qualcomm quick charge as well, so it's able to still give you fast charging if you are not using the proprietary brick charger that comes out from this box, which I absolutely do like, because sometimes many other phone companies, they have their own kind of wired charging. So if you're using any other wired charger, it does kind of really throttle it down to give you very slow charging, but you're not going to get it here with the Poco F5. And also one more thing I want to leave with you guys is how this phone unlocks. So it's very fast and very snappy, which of course helps a lot, because especially when you use your phone and you want to get your fingerprints sorted out, very convenient. You don't have to go all the way to the bottom. All you need to do is of course click on the side here, gets the job done. Or in case if you guys still are using your face mask or whatsoever, just point it into your face and boom, you are right in. One more time, boom, you're right in. So yes, that's one thing to add into the F5. Alright, so last but not least, let us talk about the cameras on this phone. So starting here with the internal specs, I think this is where it gets pretty interesting, because it does give you a decent set of cameras over here. Selfie shooter here, 16 megapixel, and can record up to 1080p at 60 fps, which I think most people will record at this setting anyway. And of course, if you switch it on to the rear cameras here, a nice triple camera setup. The two ones that it is important, which of course is the main lens here, 64 megapixel, and it does give you a dual autofocus and OIS. So in terms of recording, it's going to help you a lot in terms of stabilization, and it does give you your ultra wide lens as well. It's not the best 8 megapixel, but it still gives you a very good setup. And I do like the ultra wide lenses you can get on phones, because most of the time they will just give you a macro or maybe a depth shooter, but I think these two lenses of here is really useful. In terms of recording, it can record up to 4K at 30 fps. Again, I think most people wouldn't want to record at 8K in this kind of price range, so I think 4K at 30 fps is still pretty decent. And as you can see from these shots here, yes, you know, Poco hasn't been known to be giving you the best camera setup. And of course, you can install your G cams on this phone anyway at the end of the day. So overall, I think the cameras on this is still pretty decent, not the best, but it still gets the job done. Hey, so that is it with my Poco F5 review, and of course let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about this phone and what you guys think about this review. Of course, these are just my thoughts and my opinions. Overall, I think this phone is a very good, decent phone. For me, to be honest, I would go for the Poco F3. Yes, in terms of the processor, it's a downgrade, but you get a better display, you still get a better set of speakers and a better material and design on that phone compared to the Poco F5. But of course, you know, the price range on this is pretty much similar, so most people will go for the Poco F5 at the end of the day. But let me know in the comments down below, which one would you go for, the F3 or the F5? So of course, if you guys enjoyed this video, do click the like and smash the subscribe button down below for more videos like this in the future. And also find me on my socials at Dr. Hames Tech. So I'll see you guys in the next one.